Kelly and Robert Burrows are suing their former friends, Marina and David Quadra, for illegal eviction and property damage.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everybody.
Hello, Judge. Case 2072, Burrows versus Quadra.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. and Mrs. Quadra, you were living in a home, in a house?
Correct, a townhome.
That you didn't own. And for how long had you been renting that home?
We did not rent out the home.
How long, if you didn't own it, then you were renting it?
We rented it for 2 years, Your Honor.
It gets scarier if you have a fixed position in your head so that you're not listening to my questions. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
When did your lease start?
July of 2020.
And when was it to terminate?
It was terminated August 1st, 2022.
And it was terminated by an eviction?
Correct.
And you were evicted because the landlord said that you sublet the apartment to these people and their family?
Correct.
And they were people who you knew, both in the military?
Just him.
What do you do?
I'm a federal employee.
And you?
I'm active duty, ma'am.
But you knew each other from work?
Correct.
Where did you move in August?
National City, Your Honor.
How far is that from your prior residence?
It's about 30 miles south, Your Honor.
Are you in a home that you own or that you rent?
We are still renting.
How much are you paying in rent?
$21.50 a month.
You have a signed lease?
We do.
When did that lease start?
August 1st, 2022.
And why did you choose to live in National City?
It is closer to where he is stationed.
It is also the...
Don't speak.
Yes, Your Honor.
How much closer?
To his job.
To his job?
It went from a 30-minute drive to a 15-minute drive.
Okay, so that's better.
Correct.
You were evicted. You were served a notice of eviction on what date?
They let us know a month before August. They gave us a 30-day notice.
Now, did the plaintiffs have any furniture in the home that you were evicted from?
Prior to us being evicted, yes.
Yes, prior to your being evicted. And what furniture did they have?
2 dressers and a bunk bed.
Anything else?
That's as far as furniture.
And what furniture did you have in there prior to being evicted?
A full living room.
And when did you move that out? On what date?
The 30th of July, 2 days before our moving date.
So you moved out all of your furniture?
Correct.
And how much were you paying in rent in the place from which you were evicted?
$25.95.
Oh, I didn't write that down. How much were you paying in the new place?
The place we are in now, $21.50.
So you're paying less rent?
Correct. It's substantially smaller.
And substantially closer to his place of employment?
Correct.
Good. Now, do you want to tell me your version of how they came to be living in your house?
We received a call one night. It was very late, 10 p.m. Robert was very upset, crying. He had nowhere to go.
He?
Correct. Robert had nowhere to go, and Kelly was asking for a divorce. He asked if he could crash on the couch. We have a toddler at home, so I asked him to sleep in our guest bedroom instead of the couch. He stayed that first original night, and the next day he needed to job hunt as he was jobless. We offered to watch his child. He looked for the job and he came home. He asked us if he could stay for a while in that guest bedroom until he got onto his feet with the job. He offered money to just help out with utilities and
How
food.
much?
$1,000.
$1,000 a month?
No, just $1,000. And our words, when he had asked, and we asked him, how long do you think it will take you to get on your feet? It was just a couple weeks.
Okay, so he was offering $1,000.
Correct.
Which was 40% of your rent to stay for 2 weeks, to stay in your guest bedroom. Mm-hmm. Pretty decent. Did he give you the $1,000?
He did.
And he gave you the $1,000 on what date?
He gave us the $1,000 on May 29th.
And when did he start staying there?
He started staying with us May 21st.
Then what happened?
He stayed with us for about a week. Everything was okay. He job hunted. I helped with the child. Within this week, he...
Look at me.
I'm sorry. He confided in us that he wanted to work on his marriage with Kelly. He did not want the divorce. It was something that she had asked for. They wanted to work on it together and had asked if Kelly could come around to stay with him and the children and work on their marriage.
When he moved into the guest room, did he take the children? Did he have the children with him?
He did, but it was just on certain nights they were sharing.
And then he asked if Kelly could come as well.
Correct.
The wife. And what did you say? Why couldn't he go home?
He could not go home due to their relationship with her parents. Their parents.
Oh, she was living with her parents.
Correct.
And they were both living with her parents.
Correct.
So he said, I can't go home. We want to work on the marriage. Could we come and stay here with you?
Correct.
They have 2 kids?
They have 3.
They have 3 kids. And how many dogs?
4.
4 dogs. So far, you get 4 stars if you let her come.
I wish it would have worked that way.
No. You don't understand that that's where I'm at so far.
Yeah, of course.
So now, May 29th, he gives you the $1,000. She moves in when with the dogs?
So we had a long trip planned to Vegas. We let them know that after we had left, she could come stay while we were gone.
What month? June?
June, correct.
How long were you away?
We were away for 5 to 6 days.
Well, what was he going to do when she came there with the 4 dogs, 3 kids after 6 days? What was the plan?
This was never a plan of, here's a lease agreement you are going to rent from us. It was
that's
just
not my
I need
question.
somewhere to stay. Can they please come for this short period of time until we figure this out?
Great. Okay, now let me hear your version of the events. When you went to stay there with your children, you were having trouble with your wife.
It's incorrect.
Incorrect. What I said was, because I believe her, I believe that you called her and said exactly what she said. She told me. I mean, I didn't have to have Whitney read it back. I believe that that's what you said. So I don't want to hear baloney about school districts. You were having trouble with your wife.
And later today,
You can't have it both ways.
It's a
Ms. Dion.
complicated case.
It's not complicated. It's very simple. You didn't have a written contract. If you had an oral contract, that's one thing.
Kelly and Robert Burrows claim their former friends, Marina and David Quadra, owe for an illegal eviction. Marina and David are countersuing, saying Kelly and Robert caused them to be evicted.
So when you went to their house and you wanted to work on your marriage, you could have gone back to your in-laws.
Yes, that's correct.
You could have. Why didn't you?
The reason why we decided to split up was because we're trying to keep our kids in the same school district. So with having 4 dogs, that's impossible to keep in an HOA. So she decided to go with her parents. I decided to stay back to finish the school year with the kids, still being in May, so they can finish in the same school district. That's why I decided I needed a mailing address so that they could stay in the same school district.
So you mean this discussion that she just said to me about you having problems, marital problems with
Irrelevant.
your wife, that never happened?
Irrelevant. It's just...
No, that's not what I said. What I said was, because I believe her. I believe that that's what happened. I believe that you called her and said exactly what she said. She told me. I mean, I didn't have to have Whitney read it back. I believe that that's what you said. So I don't want to hear baloney about school districts. You were having trouble with your wife.
No, ma'am.
No.
No.
And you didn't tell her that.
We had been moved out of our old place of 6 years in El Cajon, and we were trying for 6 months to find a new place. So yes, it does put a lot of stress on a relationship, but we did not have any marital...
Mr. Burrows, you know what my strong suit is, and there's no question that the cameras just caught your face. My strong suit is being able to spot a lie from a mile away. And I'm telling you that there's no question that you called her late at night and said, I'm having trouble with my wife. She asked me for a divorce. Can I come and stay with you? There's no question that whether it was true or not, I don't know, because clearly you're a liar. So maybe it wasn't true, but that's what you told her.
Your Honor, may I speak?
You want me to call your parents?
Please do.
Would you like me to call your parents? I'm just asking you, would you like me to call your parents?
No.
Of course not. That's an easy thing for me to do.
Part of what was going on was that we lived in our home for 6 years, and the homeowners had moved back in, and so they asked us to leave, and we had been actively searching for a home. So yes, it did put a bit of a strain on our marriage, and I took my dogs with me so that I can keep my operating business at my parents' house, because I am a dog boarder, dog sitter, and I did not want to shut my business down. And during this time, tensions, little things happening at my parents' house. So I said, you need to go see if you can rent a room or find somebody that can help you in the meantime till we can actively keep searching for a place for our family. We tried 5 different homes and we didn't.
I don't care. What I said to your husband was he lied to me. Because there's no question that he called, and whether it was true or not, that he said to your friends, I need a place to go. Do you have a place that I could stay on the couch? There's no question he said that to her.
That is true. Yes, that is true.
Okay, well, then I want you to introduce your husband to the truth.
Is it true?
It's something that he hasn't met, because that's not what he told me what happened.
Correct.
So that was a mistake of his. That was a mistake. And you know what happens when you lied to me once? Your case is dismissed. Because what you're suing for is being evicted, and you go, blah, 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 emotional distress. You lie to me once, your case is dismissed. Now, we're going to come over here. You have a counterclaim. Your counterclaim is money owed for property damage.
Correct.
And for damages for eviction, because what happened was your landlord evicted you because she comes with her 4 dogs, 3 gerbils, 2 parakeets to your house, and the owner of your condo doesn't want her any more than the owner of their last condo.
Of course.
Didn't want them. Got to save your money, buy your own house, so you can have as many dogs and parakeets as you like. You moved into a place that's nicer?
Absolutely not.
Tell me what the papers said when your landlord notified you of the eviction. Do you have them?
We do.
I'd like to take a look at them.
Yes, no problem. There was also in that piece of paper a $250 fine through our HOA from the whole commotion that he caused the day of asking them to leave.
Just a second, you were a month-to-month tenant.
Correct.
You didn't have a lease for 2 years. You were a month-to-month tenant.
We had a year lease, and then when the year was up, we moved month to month.
They didn't evict you.
No, they just gave us, they asked
Just a
us to
second.
leave.
Your lawsuit is for damages, punitive damages for an eviction. You weren't evicted.
Well, we were asked to leave if we...
No, they
leave it
just
during the
decided not to renew your month-to-month lease.
Due to the...
I don't care what it was due to. Listen, if I owned a property and you let 3 kids, 4 dogs moved into my condo for 6 days, I wouldn't renew your lease on a month-to-month basis either. I don't care whether they were there for 2 days, 4 days, a week, or a month. You understand?
Understood.
Okay, so there was no eviction. So the punitive damages for that, forget it. Money owed for property damage. When they moved out, what did they damage? And how much did it cost you?
There was a hole in the molding from moving the dressers down our stairs. They bonked it, bringing it out angrily because they were mad that we asked them to leave. We have the letters from our landlord stating everything that they had to deduct from our deposit.
Just a second, a hole in the wall. And how much was the hole in the wall?
The molding was...
No, just look at the paper and tell me how much was the hole in the wall.
The painting was $180 and the molding repair was $200.
Now, did you damage the molding when you were moving a dresser out of the house?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, not that you're aware of. You want to try the truth now? Was there a hole that you created moving a dresser out of the house?
When David and I were moving our dresser over the stairs, down the stairs,
Who's David?
the defendant.
So you were moving out the dresser with him? Careful, introducing you to the truth. Did you move the dresser with him?
I did help move the furniture
Your
out.
case is dismissed. The
I went with the
counterclaim likewise is dismissed. We're done. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I take it as a win. The initial suit was them against us. Their suit got dismissed.
We lost a lot of things and a lot of wages.
That was just us being good friends. We definitely learned our lesson. We will never help another crying husband on our doorstep claiming divorce again.
People that are offering to be nice to you in times of need don't charge you.
They kind of cried, oh, marriage and divorce the whole time, knowing that we're young and married. It's something we take seriously in our lives.
And we're still trying to build our lives back.
I should actually make a party to introduce all those people to Mr. Truth.
I agree. There's a lot of mismatch.
Stuff.
Doesn't make sense. If
Yeah.
you're going to stay with a friend for a few days, you don't bring a bunk bed and 2 dressers. I've stayed with friends for a couple days, long weekend. You bring a bag with some
Right.
clothes.
Even with your kids.
Yeah, you don't bring furniture. You don't bring any of that. So there's a lot of discrepancies.
Things that didn't make sense. If it doesn't make sense, it's usually not true.
Agreed.
Case 2041, Dion versus Everson. All parties, please step forward.
Caitlin Dion claims her former employer, Scott Everson, breached their contract to buy her baby shoe business.
All right, what looks to be a complicated case actually is merely just a contract case. Miss Dion, you had a side business of making baby shoes, and I assume that those are the baby shoes.
Yes, it was a full-time
The
business.
defendants had a children's clothing website, and they became familiar with your baby shoes, and they were interested in buying your business. You entered into a contract wherein I believe that they agreed to pay you $30,000 for the business. Is that correct?
That was the asking price. There was never a written contract signed.
That's incorrect.
Just a second. You entered into a deal for $30,000 and an employment contract without a written contract?
I have the written contract here, Your Honor.
Oh, yeah. I would say goodbye to you all if there wasn't a written contract.
There was a draft of a contract, the terms of which changed numerous times over the 2 years.
You can't change a written contract. Was it a written contract that was signed by both parties?
No, it was never
He
signed.
refused to sign it, even though he was the one that wrote it himself and emailed it to me himself.
You called him within the period that you were supposed to be working for him and said, this is too much for me, I can't do it. I read your complaint. Do you understand? That's a breach of your contract, if there ever was a contract.
Caitlin Dion claims her former employer, Scott Everson, breached their contract to buy her baby shoe business.
Well, then there was never a meeting of the minds. May I see that? This is going to be a much easier case than I thought.
That's also incorrect. I have
audio. Just a second. This is going to be a much easier case than I thought.
That's the latest draft of an agreement, of which there were several drafts prior to that.
Listen to me, sir. Doesn't make any difference to me. She's suing you because you paid her pursuant, I assume, under this non-contract, according to you, $31,000. That was both for a piece of her business and for her staying on for a period of, I don't know, 4 months, 6 months?
That was never agreed to.
Neither was the $30,000. Do you understand? You can't have it both ways,
It's a
Ms. Dion.
complicated case.
It's not complicated. It's very simple. You didn't have a written contract. If you had an oral contract, that's one thing.
I do have that, actually. I have audio that we can play right now telling him that he promises to pay me $30,000 regardless of how long I worked for him.
Just a second. The original deal that you had was for $30,000.
There was actually an original deal that was much more than the contract he took months to change to sign.
There's no question that under the terms of what you both thought was reasonable, you agreed to accept $30,000 from him for the business, and you would stay with the business for a period of time, either 4 months or 6 months. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but that is totally reasonable because he wasn't in the baby shoes business. According to your complaint, you were going through some marital difficulty, you were going through other major problems, and you called him within the period that you were supposed to be working for him and said, this is too much for me, I can't do it. I read your complaint. Do you understand? That's a breach of your contract, if there ever was a contract. That was, listen to me carefully.
Look in the contract, it says that he would take away $400 per week that I did not work for him.
This is not, listen to me, Ms. Dion, listen to me very carefully. This is an unsigned contract.
Why did you send it to me then?
Just a second. He gave you $31,000.
He did not. He gave me $5,000.
Just a second. He says he gave you over the period of time $30,000. Did you give her?
I have to.
Just a second.
In the period of time that we've known Ms. Dion and worked with her, I've given her $31,668.
I have proof that says otherwise.
I'd like to see it.
Here are my hourly paychecks.
No, not that.
Those are paycheck stubs, of which of the $31,000 she received,
that were not part
were,
of the business purchase price.
Listen.
No, you're right. That was pay stubs.
I have to explain something to you. There was no written contract and clearly no meeting of the minds based upon what you both told me today.
What was I supposed to do? I signed the contract and gave it back to him.
Then you should have done nothing. If he didn't sign it, you should have done nothing.
I was a single mother at the time.
Ms. Dion, you have to understand, this is a court.
He had all of my assets.
This is a court. It's not Dr. Phil. You had no written contract, and if you had no written contract, you had to have an oral contract.
I do.
No, then you had to have an oral contract, and that oral contract clearly did not reflect a meeting of the minds of both of you. If he didn't sign this contract, and whether it was for your business or for your employment, are you saying to me that you did not receive from him? I'm just curious, because he has the documentation to show me that you did not receive from him $31,000.
I have documentation. Sorry, I thought that was a question you asked.
That was a question that you did not receive from him. I don't care if it was the business or as a worker, that you did not receive from him during a period of time $31,000.
I did not. That's incorrect. I have my paychecks. I have the down payment that he made. I have the installments that he made.
Just a second.
All of which add up to $31,000.
Just a second. Add them up, and I asked you a question. How much was it? Your paychecks and the down payment he made on your business. How much was it? I want to know if it was he said it was $31,000.
He paid me $16,666 for my business. My paychecks do not matter. They were not a part of the business agreement.
Did you file your case in small claims?
That is not a part of my business.
Did you file your case in small claims court?
Yes.
Working
hourly was not a part of the contract.
Pay careful attention to me. If you filed your case in small claims court, I'm going to give you an opportunity to go back there. If you think you have I do not. I do not believe that there was a meeting of the minds when there's a contract unsigned for over $10,000. That's absolutely ludicrous. As long as I'm comfortable with the fact that you got paid during a period of time, $30,000, so that you worked and you got paid. The contract for the sale of the business, as far as I'm concerned, was never consummated. I'm going to let you go try to explain your position to a judge in either Superior Court, because I don't think small claims courts hear cases up to $10,000. I don't know where you're from. Where are you from?
It's actually $11,000.
Utah.
In Utah.
I'll go back to Utah. This case is dismissed without prejudice. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
I reminded him over the period of 2 months.
Paid her $31,000 for her time in her business.
Give me the contract, give me the contract, give me the contract.
She wanted a job. That's how she first approached us. She applied for a job with us.
My working for him hourly was never part of the agreement.
I wish I...
Bobby Gonzalez is suing his neighbors, John and Heather Gilbert, for truck damage.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2095, Gonzalez versus Gilbert.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes, ma'am.
You're seeking substantial amount of money to refurbish your car after it was hit by the defendant's car while your car was parked.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendants are seeking the same amount of money because they say that despite the fact that one of them did in fact hit your parked car, it was your fault. That's your defense.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes,
who was driving?
I was driving.
Okay. Mr. Gilbert, on what date did this incident happen?
February 3rd,
What time?
about 5:30 in the morning.
Who was in the car with you?
Nobody. I was by myself. I was going to pick up my son
You were going to pick up your son from where?
from his mother's house to take him to school.
And where does he go to school that he has to be there at 5:30 in the morning?
He doesn't have to be there at 5:30. I have to leave at 5:30 to get him there by 7.
Do you take him to school every day?
No.
What was different about February 3rd?
His mother, stepfather, and the rest of their family was out of town. They had asked me to take him to school that day.
Just for that one day?
Yep.
Yep is not an answer.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
is an
Your
answer. Okay, so it's about 5:30 in the morning, and?
I left my house. It was
Look at me.
raining. It was cold. It's pretty much the same route I take every day, not at that same time. I was approaching a stop sign at an intersection by the plaintiff's house, and I seen, I guess, either a reflection or what I thought were lights headed in my direction. So I swerved. And
Okay, you're still traveling, so you're moving. Does somebody have a diagram of where this happened?
Yeah.
There it is. Okay. You were approaching a stop sign.
yeah, I was approaching an intersection.
So right.
Were you there?
No, ma'am.
Sit down.
Yes, ma'am.
You were approaching an intersection.
Yeah.
It's a two-way road.
Yeah.
And it looks to me from that, is that an accurate representation?
Yeah, except for there was another vehicle on the other side of the road.
Okay, but it looks to me that you're traveling sort of in the middle of the road.
Yeah, it floods.
Okay, and a car is coming from something. You're not sure what.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what. It
You
was
were not
early in the
sure
morning.
what.
And I swerved. I
you
just got over to the proper side of the road.
And your car swerved, and when your car swerved, it hit that blue car that's sitting there. That's the plaintiff's car that was sitting in front of his house.
Mm-hmm.
Is not
Yes,
an
ma'am.
answer. Yes. Okay. Now, do you want to tell me what you did next?
I went through the intersection, turned around to follow what I thought might have been a vehicle headed my direction. And when I didn't see a vehicle, I took my vehicle home. I parked it. I got my insurance information, my driver's license, and I walked back to his house to trade insurance information with him.
Okay. You have a video of this incident?
Yes, ma'am.
From where?
From my surveillance cameras.
Is it set up for me to watch it
Yes,
here?
ma'am. Yes, it is.
Okay, I'm ready. That's your car, sir?
Yes.
Okay, let's see that again.
Notice how the truck is covered?
Okay, so you hit the plaintiff's car hard enough to push it up on the curb.
Speed limit is 30 miles an hour.
I've just asked you a question.
Yes, ma'am.
It looks as if you hit it hard enough to push it up on the curb.
Yes, I did.
But you told me a moment ago, Mr. Gilbert, and you just piped in that the speed limit there is 30 miles an hour. You said you were slowing down for a stop sign.
I said I was approaching a stop sign.
Well, when you're approaching a stop sign, you don't approach a stop sign at 30 miles an hour, especially if it's in a neighborhood that you've been in. But according to you, you drive that neighborhood regularly.
Yep.
However, not at that time. That's what you said.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you are approaching a stop sign, when I approach a stop sign, and if I know there's a stop sign there, I start applying my brakes a little bit before. Now, I do drive with some people who sort of like to play chicky with a stop sign, you know. Maybe the stop sign is going to move. Maybe it's going to become a welcome mat. So they wait until they get right up to it and put their brakes on. But that's not what you told me you did.
No, ma'am.
Okay. So now I'm going to say, if you were going very slowly, sir, approaching a stop sign, you wouldn't have hit his car with such force that you push him up on the curb. Okay. Your defense is to this action, as I said, that he was parked and he had this car that was covered and it was parked facing the wrong direction, which is totally irrelevant as to was facing the wrong direction.
To Texas state law.
It was on. It's covered over, so you don't know which direction it was facing in. Certainly, the light wasn't on it. If you're
I've passed this.
I didn't ask you for anything. You weren't there.
Yes, ma'am.
You weren't there.
Yes, ma'am, but
She lives in the neighborhood. She drives by it every day.
Just a second. What do I need that for? I have a video.
Okay.
I have a video.
Can you see the stop sign in the video? No. You have no idea how close I was.
You just told me you were approaching a stop sign.
Yeah, there is a stop sign. There is a stop sign.
Would you read that back to me? I was approaching a stop sign. Does he say I slowed down? I was approaching a stop sign? I don't remember.
It's about.
I didn't say. I did not.
Now
say,
you can leave.
I did not say I was slowing down.
Now you can leave.
I did not say I was slowing down. I said I was approaching a stop sign.
Okay, that's what I thought. But that's why we have Whitney.
He says he was approaching a stop sign at an intersection by the plaintiff's house, and I can see either a reflection or what I see lights headed in my direction, so I swerve.
Now I would like to see that video again one more time. I would like to see if I see something coming towards you. Actually, I don't see another vehicle coming towards you. Is that a truck parked there?
It's a food truck behind it. It's like catty corner to his vehicle. There's a food trailer there that had all of the light, right.
A food truck on the other side of the street.
Yes, ma'am.
A food truck that you could see, but that's parked.
Well, I assume since there was no actual lights coming, I assume maybe that's what light reflected off of.
You don't assume anything. All you know is you saw something that made you swerve.
Yes, ma'am.
Whether it was there or not there. So am I getting the fact that your total defense is based on the fact that his car shouldn't have been parked there?
Yes, ma'am. Or covered.
Yeah, well, but that's a finable offense, Mr. Gilbert. That's a finable offense.
If it doesn't cause an accident.
No, I don't think it caused the accident. You caused the accident.
How did
you
I cause
caused the accident. This is an inert object.
According to my HOA guidelines, that vehicle is supposed to be in his garage. According to Texas state law, it's not supposed to be on the road.
And I'm going to tell you, I absolutely agree with you that that's a finable offense if his car is parked.
So
you're trying to interrupt me.
Okay.
That it's a finable offense. The question is his car being parked illegally the proximate cause of this accident? That's the question.
Would that be a fair? It is.
I didn't ask you a question unless you went to law school.
Huh? No,
unless you went to law school. Am I in the realm? You're closer than that, was Palsgraf versus Long Island Railroad. His car may have been parked in the wrong spot. Yeah. If you had somebody that left a baby carriage with a baby on the street, which is certainly against the law and would be a neglectful act on the part of the parent, and if you happen to swerve up to avoid something and hit that baby carriage, you can't say that baby carriage is the cause of the accident.
No,
you're the cause of the accident.
No, the owner of the baby carriage is.
No, you are.
No, they are.
So
how am I responsible for their baby carriage?
Because your car is moving, sir, and if you're approaching a stop sign, you're not supposed to be going.
If the vehicle wasn't covered, you could see the reflectors that are on it. That's what they're there for.
Reflectors on what?
Reflectors on the truck that's covered. They have headlights, turn signals, everything that's reflective that you could see. There was no reflectors or signals for me to see to know it was there.
You would have hit it whether it was covered or not.
Horse.
Very good. May I please see the...
That's horse. I wouldn't have hit it, could I see it?
Kevin, I want to see what he's got as far as work for the car. Okay, so this is clearly a project car, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, it's people. It don't run.
Get him out of here.
Let's go.
He's done. He's done.
Okay.
Thank you, Lord.
Oh, that makes my life so much easier.
And later today.
You know, you wanted to go. There was no reason why you couldn't. That's why you drive a motorcycle, because you can get into tight places and you can go. But you look like an intelligent young woman.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Don't take chances. That was a chance. It could have been a lot worse.
Bobby Gonzalez claims his neighbor, John Gilbert, hit his classic pickup truck. John is countersuing for car damage and harassment.
By the way, both the defendant and his wife have a counterclaim. Their counterclaim is for damages to their car and for harassment. Well, since neither one of them can keep control of themselves, the counterclaim is dismissed. I'm looking at this truck, Mr. Gonzalez. When did you purchase it, sir, and from whom?
In October of last year. I purchased it online.
Do you have the bill of sale from when you purchased it?
I don't have the bill of sale, but on the paperwork, I have the post on Facebook on how much I paid for it. It was for $8,000.
Okay.
I also have an appraisal on there as well.
I see the appraisal, but I don't have what it's going to take to fix the spot where he damaged the car. He damaged the car in this whole side end.
Yes.
I mean, he's not going to give you a classic car.
Well, I know.
That's not going to happen.
I know. I know
okay.
that.
That's not going to happen. And certainly, you do understand that I'm not awarding you anything close, even though they're two obnoxious people, anything close to $10,000. You do understand that, Mr. Gonzalez. You're going to have to get this car fixed right now. I'm looking. Where is a invoice for either the work you had done or an estimate to fix that part of the car that he injured?
I cannot give that to you because
well, then I don't have it,
the
sir.
vehicle is a classic. It's very hard to find that type of vehicle.
Well, then what you're asking me is to guess, sir.
Well, I can give you the rates as far as how much
You can't give me anything.
Okay.
You have to take the car in to somebody who deals with classic cars. This is a 70-year-old truck, and it's certainly beat up. You had it covered for a long time. It shouldn't have been on the street. You do know that. And I assume that since it's not driven, you didn't have it insured.
Well, I took it out for Halloween, you know, just for the kids.
Well, I mean, where do you suggest that I conjure up a figure of $10,000 when you have a car that's a year old that has never been driven, that you take out and it's a Halloween ornament? So let me explain this to you. I have to guess at a figure. I would be prepared to award you $2,000 to fix your car because I did see that it had to be damaged as a result of the damage to the defendant's car. If you feel as if you would fare better in your local small claims court where this case came from, because I have dismissed their counterclaim, I will dismiss your case without prejudice and you can take it back to the lower court. Take your choice.
I'll go ahead and take it from you. I know I'm not going to get anything from them.
Very good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. Counterclaims dismissed. Fix your car. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Well, I didn't agree on the price, but with them kind of people, I'm not going to get my money back. It's time to get it repaired.
I think you have to be a certain kind of person to not take any accountability when you hit a stationary object. I'll admit, I think that it was probably a 90%, 10% split, 10% plaintiff's fault for parking on the street. I looked up the section code in Texas and did find that if you leave a car longer than 5 days on the street, you're in violation of a code. But like you tried to explain to the very hot-headed defendant, that's a finable offense. That doesn't mean you can ram into it with your vehicle and not be at fault. I just don't know how you take zero accountability after hitting a stationary object.
I don't know either, but that's, I think, a problem with a country that's grown up in the last 50 years, that it's never your fault. Yep. It's always somebody else. It's the state's fault. It's the city's fault. It's somebody else's fault. And it's sad because I know that there was lots of acrimony between the two of them without it. But they were hotheads. Is this the first time you ever saw me send somebody out?
A long time.
Yeah,
long time since I've seen it. Yeah. But when they're clearly not getting the message and they're being hostile, that's not the proper way to come to court.
No.
Especially when you're in the wrong.
All right, but they have to live near each other. I hope that they sort of get it together.
Just keep your fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Case 2067, Garcia versus Taryn. All parties, please step forward.
Amari Garcia is suing fellow motorist April Tarrant for damages from a motorcycle accident.
This is a case that's about an automobile-motorcycle collision. Each one of you claims that the other is responsible for the collision. Ms. Garcia, you were riding the motorcycle?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were in your car?
Yes.
Okay. And this happened on what date?
March 21st, 2022, around 3 p.m.
In what state?
California.
In the state of California, are you required to have insurance on a motorcycle?
Yes, Your Honor.
Just liability?
Liability if it's paid for in full, correct. Yes, Your Honor.
And were you insured on that date?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you were driving a car?
Yes.
And was your car insured on March 21st, 2022?
Not at the time.
So the answer is no?
No.
Did you have a valid driver's license on March 21st, 2022?
Yes.
From what state?
California.
What kind of car were you driving?
A 2011 Nissan Sentra.
Was it a new car for you, or did you have it for a while?
It's a new car. I purchased it 3 weeks prior to the incident.
And if you bought it 3 weeks before, how come you didn't have liability insurance?
I was looking for insurance, and plus, at the time, I hadn't received my paperwork. It was still in the other person's name at the used car dealership that I bought it from.
Your Honor,
You know you're not supposed to be driving a car, Miss Tarrant, without insurance.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
Okay. You wanted to say something?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. I have proof that April Tarrant purchased her vehicle February 8th, 2022. She drove uninsured for 41 days, and it was not from a lot. It was from someone off the street. I have the proof for that.
I'd like to see it.
Yes. Oh, thank you. For $2,050.
Well, this car that you registered, the selling price was $2,050, according to this.
No, it wasn't. And
well, I'm going to show you vehicle and transfer law. This is 2011 Sentra, and it was signed, but it's LLC. That's his company.
Okay.
So it wasn't off the street, but it said the selling price was $2,000. That's what this says.
I don't have my paperwork in my car.
I want to show this to her. I just want to get some basic facts first, and then I'm going to go to the incident.
But that's and...
No, the person, the seller.
And you know, I have my paperwork in my car.
Well, but you understand that that's
I understand what you said because it's right there. Yes.
Okay, we have a diagram. This happened on March 21st, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You had no insurance, and you were traveling in the bike lane.
No, that is not true. I shared the lane of the car on the right. I would never go into a bike lane. That is disrespectful to the road and riders.
Just a second. Are you allowed to share a lane with a car and a motorcycle?
That is your right, yes.
I know Foothill. Is that where you were?
Yes, Your Honor.
And at a certain time during the day, Foothill becomes very trafficked.
Yes.
And the cars sometimes get stopped because there's a light, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go over to there, Miss Garcia, and show me, please, where you were positioned before you say that you were traveling in the same lane as a car.
Your Honor, I was directly behind this car.
Okay.
Directly behind.
You were directly behind that car.
Yes.
And that car was stopped.
They were slowing to a stop.
No, they were stopped because they had to have been stopped because that's why you went around him.
They were slowing to a stop. By the time I got around here, they were stopped. I didn't want to veer into here. I was slowing down. I was around 25 miles per hour. This lane at the time was too close. So I shared this lane on this side.
Miss Garcia, I got it, Miss Garcia. You want me to appreciate the fact that you wanted to get around the stopped car and you wanted to continue to go straight, correct? You weren't turning. You wanted to go straight.
I was going straight, correct.
And so you want me to picture in this tiny mind of mine that instead of going into a perfectly clear bike lane, you inched your way at 25 miles an hour in the same lane as a stopped car.
Yes.
But
this diagram...
You know, I find that hard to believe, Miss Garcia.
Your
I
Honor,
really find that hard to believe. You may be in the right with regard to this, but I find it hard to believe.
The roads are very wide. I have the actual police photo document of that.
I'd like to see it.
Yes, Your Honor. Right here.
And I'd like to see the police report as well. Is there a police report?
It's attached to this.
Fine. Because as you were traveling straight, the defendant was making a left turn. She was making a left turn because the two cars there were stopped, and those were the only two traffic lanes there. Now, I don't know whether she could see whether it's a motorcycle or a bicycle traveling in the bike lane, but what happened was she was making a left turn. According to this, you went into her passenger side. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So where is the motorcycle now?
I no longer have it. The towing company, they sold it.
What are you driving around in now?
1995 Chevy Baville.
Atta girl!
Amari Garcia is accusing fellow motorist April Taryn of damaging her motorcycle. April claims Amari was illegally driving in the bike lane.
Who was in the car with you, Miss Taryn?
My son and his girlfriend.
One of them had an injury.
Yes. My son's girlfriend, she was in the driver's passenger side, and while I was turning into the lane, I just felt a crash and saw glass going into my car, and then she was cut.
Okay, and you had an injury to your knee?
Yes, I have several injuries, and I have photos as well.
You understand, Miss Taryn, that the police interviewed witnesses. The witnesses were in the stopped cars.
Yes.
And at the end of all of their interviewing process, they determined that you were the cause of the collision. That's what it says.
And I don't...
It says that you caused the collision by violating Vehicle and Traffic Law 21-8001, failure to yield when making a left turn. I determined the cause based upon the parties involved and the physical evidence. That's what the police determined. Okay, well, then that's an easy, based upon the police report, because each of you were going to tell two different stories about what happened that day. Police were there, they looked at the physical evidence, they looked at the injuries, they looked at the damage to the roadway, they interviewed independent witnesses, and that was their determination.
I understand, Judge, but the police report had some inconsistencies where, like, she was driving in the bicycle lane, which is against the law. And what I was doing, I was making the left turn, as you know. And these two front cars, which one of them was a witness.
Yes, that car paused to let you make a left turn.
Yes, both lanes. And I was...
No, you said both lanes.
Both lanes paused.
Well, that's what you say.
Yes.
That's what you say. That's not what this says.
See, but they both did. And as I was...
But I'm just telling you.
No, I know.
Yeah,
that's
but
what
I'm just telling you. That's not what this is.
Exactly.
That's what you say. There was nothing that prevented those two cars from going.
Exactly.
There wasn't a traffic light. There wasn't a stoplight at that spot.
Yes.
And there was heavy traffic.
Yes.
So it's your responsibility to make sure if you're making a left turn that you have to yield to all oncoming traffic. And so the fact that you didn't see her is really not relevant. And as long as you understand that this police report supports Miss Garcia's claim that you caused this accident by making a left turn when you shouldn't have been making a left turn, that's what this says. And that, you know, at the end of the day, it's an accident. That's why it's not called an on purpose. It's called an accident. Neither one of you anticipated it. As far as I'm concerned, Ms. Garcia, you're entitled to be compensated, but I'm going to suggest this to you. If I'm driving a motorcycle, which I would never do, just for me, I think it's wacky. I think there are enough crazy people driving around that I like about 2,000 pounds of steel around me, so that if somebody who is not paying attention and there's an accident, I like to be safe. My first car, when I was 17, all my friends were getting these cute little cars, you know, that were convertibles, and my father bought me a 15-year-old blue and white Cadillac sedan. It was so embarrassing to drive around in that car. It was a boat. Oh, come on. Everybody else is getting these cute little Corvettes, even if they're used ones. And my father, who loved me a lot, said to me, sweetheart, if you get into the accident, I want you to come out unscathed. And this ensures that you got a shot if you get into an accident. And I feel better. So I'm just telling you, if you're going to drive a motorcycle, don't take shortcuts. I know this place on Foothill, and I know what happened here. You know, you wanted to go, there was no reason why you couldn't. That's why you drive a motorcycle, because you can get into tight places. But you look like an intelligent young woman.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Don't take chances. That was a chance. It could have been a lot worse. What was the damage to your motorcycle?
I have pictures. Would you like to see them, Your Honor?
I would.
I did look it up. Lane splitting motorcycles is legal in California, based on the California Highway Patrol.
Okay, no, I see the pictures. So where is the motorcycle now?
I no longer have it. The towing company, they sold it. They sold it for $70 they claim, and I got hit with collections afterwards. I have the bill for that if you'd like to see that.
How much did you pay for it?
$6,407.
Do you have the bill?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
For my motorcycle, what I paid for, correct?
Yes, what you paid for it. What are you driving around in now?
A 1995 Chevy Baville.
Atta girl! Atta girl. Okay. I'm giving you the value of the motorcycle.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Which is $6,407. I'm not splitting whose fault this was, actually, but I'm not awarding you any punitive damages for her. She had injuries in her car. You were slightly injured, but both of you seem fine now. I don't think that you were careful enough when you were going straight and around that car that was stopped. But the defendant didn't have insurance, and she was cited by the police for violation of a traffic law. So I'm giving you the cost of your motorcycle.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Judgment for the plaintiff.
This court is adjourned.
So I actually ended up, after the car had made impact with me, the bike went that way. I went up into the air.
It was really frightening.
I hit the ground. I hit on my elbow.
I've never experienced that before.
I was really scared. I thought, like, oh, this is it. My legs are out.
And like I said, I was being cautious, and
thankfully I wasn't.
But it ended up in that kind of situation.
Definitely more safely as far as better gear, and, you know, like she said, don't take a shortcut or anything of that sort.
So I looked up lane splitting, and in California, it's one of the few states that allows it for motorcyclists. It does say inexperienced riders shouldn't attempt it because, like we see, it's very easy to get hit or for someone not to see you if you're splitting between lanes, but it is legal, so she wasn't in the wrong by lane splitting, but I think it was a sticky situation. You're behind a car, someone's turning.
What does it say if you're injured?
It does say on the Highway Patrol website that you're splitting at your own risk, so any injuries that happen are at your own risk.
So they say if you are lane splitting, it's not illegal, but if you have injuries as a result of an accident, if you're lane splitting, you're responsible for your own injuries.
It doesn't say it in a legal term that I could really stick to, but it says it's risky. We're acknowledging that it's risky. You have to assume the risk of lane splitting if that's what you choose.
And say,
kill.